Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk.
Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We got a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sake.
This is a cool night or what? Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
The woman says go, I go. And the woman just said go, so we are off and running with another episode of your Dark Companion. Warmest greetings to you all, no matter where you may be, no matter when or even how you're receiving this podcast transmission. If you are watching live, because we do go live at 1, and if you're by the channel live, good to have you. If you're watching after the fact, good to have you as well. It is the 23rd of June today, as we are starting to lean a little bit toward the month of July. It's getting hot out there here in the D. Mm-hmm. And we got the whole crew in here. Shoopy is here. Ashley is here. Becca is here. And joining us today is someone that I have known for a minute or two, a hot minute. You hear her on the sidelines on Cowboys radio. You have Brad, you have Babe up in the booth, down below on the field, on the sidelines, bringing you updates, injury stuff, whatever may be going on down there that turns out to be pertinent. She's on it. She is Kristi Scales.
Thank you. And thank you especially for not saying how long we've known each other, because that's way longer than any of us want to admit, but it's been a long time. So thank you for having me on the show. And yes, it's true. I do updates on the field, but unlike your other media guests, I'm the one media member who wants less airtime. Because if you hear from me during the game, especially, once the game kicks off,
right?
If you hear from me, there's probably about an 80% chance that it's going to be bad news, right? Because it usually is injury related,
right,
or maybe something crazy with the weather affecting everything, or some kind of, we've had a couple, heck, even last year we had, lightning delays and things like that. So it's fun to be in this setting and talk about fun things and not just injuries.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, because people have always told me less of you is better. So I can feel you a little bit here.
Yeah, Babe calls me the IRS agent of the crew. You're the one person no one wants to hear from.
Now that's funny.
Yeah.
That is really funny. So how long you been doing this now?
This will be my 35th season, and it'll be my 27th season as the sideline reporter for Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. So I started work at KVIL Radio in 1989, hired by Ron Chapman, who you know from the business for so long, the late, great Ron Chapman. But we at KVIL got the rights to the Cowboys broadcast in 1991. So I went from producing the afternoon music show to becoming the sports producer. And so the first 8 seasons that we had the broadcast, 91 through 98, I was the producer, and so on game day, I was the one in the booth.
Yeah.
And the producers, as Grooves Ashley, anybody in radio knows that the producers really run everything, right? And yes.
Damn right.
Run everything.
That's certainly the case around here.
And then in 1999, I moved down to the sideline. That was Chan Gailey's second year, but I've been on the sideline as a sideline reporter. As I say, I think this is my 27th season.
And KVIL got them when? What year was that?
1991 was our first year, and got them from KRLD AM,
yeah,
1080 AM. Now it's sister stations, the current station and KRLD FM, and then KRLD AM 1080, where the games had been forever since the 70s. they were competitors then, so we wrested it away. And Mike, if you remember, that was a big deal back then because
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
KVIL is a FM music station.
Yes.
KVIL doesn't exist anymore, right? It's now, but not alt or whatever it is. It's not.
That's
it's
hard
not
to fathom.
KVIL. It really
That is just hard to fathom.
But we did games in stereo. So we had the parabolic microphones. We were the first to have a sideline reporter. We would drop in the sound bites and everything and just having the stereo. We promoted everything as listening to the game in stereo.
Yes.
And we knew that if people had a choice, that they would obviously watch the game. We had them captive if they were at work and didn't have access to a TV. We had them captive if they were in a car or they're sitting listening to a transistor, out at a cabin or hunting. I guess if you're hunting, you're not listening to anything loudly. You don't want to drive that. But anyway, but our goal was to get people who were watching TV to turn down the TV sound and turn up the radio broadcast.
Yeah.
And so by doing things in stereo, that was a really big hook back then.
Now, it was quite a stroke for KVIL, and it really shook up the whole radio scene around here at the time when they wound up with the Cowboys because, sports, particularly the Cowboys, had always been more in the domain of a I guess, news-oriented
Yes.
type station,
Sure.
like KRLD was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And KVIL was kind of, as a music station, it was kind of all things to.
Well, we were the mom station.
Yeah,
I call it the mom carpool station
Yeah.
because I grew up in the area. I've been here since 5th grade. And so like mom, we listened to Ron and Susie every day. But when mom got close to the school, then we'd change it over to the zoo, right? Because I wanted to be cool. I didn't want anybody, I didn't want my friends to think that I listened to KVIL.
And boy, if you're going to be cool, you had to listen to the zoo.
You did. But so it was so would you like to hear the backstory of why KVIL went for
I would
that?
love to.
Okay. So it had to do with, surely it was bringing in more ratings, but it was a new way of a revenue stream. KVIL was number one. Ron Chapman Morning Show, Ron Chapman, Susie Humphreys. I mean, we were tops in billing, number one. It was a very successful station, but
it was
dominant. And Ron is in the National Radio Hall of Fame.
As he should be.
As he should be, next to Wolfman Jack and Dick Clark and Paul Harvey and the like. But here's the thing. The bringing in a football game and bringing in male listeners brought in a different revenue stream of advertisers. So, for example, KVIL being a light rock, easy listening mom carpool station, we didn't have beer. We had Jiffy Lube, but not Pennzoil. Because if we're going to get our oil changed, we're going to Jiffy Lube.
Right.
But, and I remember this specifically because Pennzoil was one of our sponsors for Cowboys Radio, because men changed their own oil, at least back then when men were real men. And, the other,
she ain't wrong.
She's not.
The other thing was, because we controlled our own advertising back then, we controlled now the radio station, the Cowboys sell the time. But back then, the Cowboys radio network, we could go to Coors and say, you are the official beer of the Dallas Cowboys radio network, whereas Miller was the official beer of the Cowboys. So Ford was the official, and still is the official, just like Miller is still a sponsor. Ford was the vehicle, right, for the team. Well, we could advertise with everybody else, so we got the money from Chevrolet and Honda and Toyota and everything else.
And I suppose Ron was the guy who saw all this rolling out just the way it did.
Absolutely. And Jerry Bobo was our general manager at the time, if you know Jerry.
I do.
And
I love Jerry Bobo.
Bob Cooper was our sales manager and later became the general manager. But it was bringing in a completely different revenue stream that we didn't have. And then the other thing was we tweaked the music oh so slightly, because we knew that we'd have men listening to the game on a Sunday afternoon, either coming home from church are driving back from the deer lease. Well, they're not interested in hearing Celine Dion or Michael Bolton, but our music on Mondays and even into Tuesday, it'd be a little more Bob Seger.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So could we hold on to some of those male listeners at least through the early part of the week? And the other thing was we did the Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night programming. So from 7 to 8 p.m. Monday night was Dave and Buster's, and that was the Jerry Jones show. Tuesday night was a players show, and then Wednesday night was a show with former players. So we had 3 nights, only during the football season, of course, where we did Cowboys programming. So we had that shoulder programming, meaning that's just a radio term where, you talk Cowboys during the week and have Cowboys segments, and then the game broadcast or for the ticket, pregame, postgame, that kind of thing. And then, of course, we were on the ticket for, was it 3 years or 5 years?
4
years?
2006 to 2008.
Okay, so 3 years. 3 years on the ticket.
Yeah, I produced the first season and then ran the board for the network the last couple.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if I have one little niche in ticket history, it's that in my, because we do the owner's box interview with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, 30 minutes before kickoff, live on the field, open mic, owner's box, but radio gold waiting to happen. I think that the first time he ever said glory hole was in one of my interviews.
I think you're right.
And I don't remember the question. I don't remember the rest of his answer. I just thought, oh my God, I think Jerry just won emergency break of the week.
Of course, on the ticket, that's all of a day's work.
Right.
And he's used that glory hole thing several times since then. But I think, oh my gosh, I'd heard it before, but not on air. And I'm like, oh no, emergency break.
But no, I remember that being made a drop pretty much immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, forever. It still is, I'm sure.
In perpetuity. It's one of those things that will live forever.
Yep.
So how did you even wind up at KVIL, and how long had you been there before your rise to prominence? And give us your backstory.
Well, I'm a local kid. I'm originally from Galveston, Texas, BOI, born on the island. But I've been in Dallas since the middle of 5th grade, and Lake Highlands kid. And so I actually have been outside the Cowboys practice facility since 5th grade because Forest Meadow Junior High, Abrams Road, just 2 blocks from the old facility. I mean, I think fans know that at the Star in Frisco now, the Cowboys headquarters and practice field, they've been there since 2016. And before that, I think we know Valley Ranch in Irving. They moved there in 1985. So when I was in junior high and high school, the Cowboys were our neighborhood team at Lake Highlands in Northeast Dallas. Abrams Road at Forest Lane. 1 football field, Mike, you remember it. 1 football field surrounded by a blue, kind of like aluminum siding. What do you call that? Like corrugated metal fence?
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly how high it was, this high. Just because if you pulled yourself up high enough, you could watch over the fence. There was no signage. It was a metal building, and that wasn't the headquarters. Tech Schramm and the offices were on Central Expressway, but the coaches' offices and the players, and it's right there across from the Tom Thumb and the Sam's Walk and the AutoZone. But yeah, I'd walk up after practice and hang out and get autographs and stuff. And anyway, I graduated Lake Highlands High School, went to Texas A&M. Never took a broadcasting class, never took a journalism class. If I'd have known there was any possibility of working in sports or working in media, believe me, I would have taken a class. I was going to teach school. And in fact, I did my student teaching at Lake Highlands. So finished in 1989 and was applying to different school districts, including Richardson and Highland Park and down at Round Rock, some different Plano, different ones, and got an interview for a part-time summer job with Ron Chapman. And
now, how did that come about?
Now, that's the crazy part. My mom was a legal secretary. She worked for a lawyer named Ron Massengill, who had done some legal work for Ron Chapman, but basically ran in the same social circles in Highland Park.
Right.
And so So my mom asked her boss, Ron, to call Ron Chapman as a favor and see if the kid could come in and get an interview, not with Ron, but just as a promotions assistant. Promotions assistant is the bottom rung of the ladder, right? Those are the kids that hang up the banners and hand out the keychains and the bumper stickers. And so I thought, I had never been in a radio station before. And I am mortified that now I am supposed to meet Ron Chapman. I have no idea what to talk about. He spent an hour with me. It was a Wednesday. And he said, why don't you come back tomorrow morning and watch us do the morning show. Jody Dean was the producer at the time. Meet Jody. We were in the Capitol Bank building, Mockingbird and Central. Meet Jody downstairs at 5:15 a.m. at the ATM in the lobby, and he'll let you up. I go up the next day. This is the greatest thing because I've grown up listening to him. And so now I'm getting to watch him do the show. And afterwards, he introduces me to Trisha Crisp, who was the head of our fun and games department. Because we didn't call it promotions department. That's too, too pedestrian.
Yeah,
we called it the fun and games
on
department.
The corporate side.
Yes. And she interviewed me. And we didn't have cell phones back then. It's 1989. And before I got home, she had left a message and said, we tape a show called Staff Meeting, which aired on Sunday mornings on KVIL. I always thought it was live. It never occurred to me that you pre-recorded things in radio. So I go back the next day, and I get to watch them tape Staff Meeting, the Sunday morning talk show, which was all their on-air talent. So Peggy Sears and Bob Morrison, all the Michael Ray, who was the traffic reporter. They all sit around and talk about stuff. And I sat in the little room, the producer's room that looked through the window where they taped in the big conference room. And the guy who was the producer, his name was Lewis. He was an engineer. And that's the first, other than Ron and Trisha, that's the first person I met at KVIL. And last month we celebrated our 31st wedding anniversary.
Aww.
That's where I met my husband.
Wow.
Yes. So anyway, staff meeting ends, and Trisha walks me down the hall and plunks me in the general manager's office. And his name is Jerry Bobo. I don't know what I'm going to talk to this man about, but I see that there's a Texas A&M thing, and I had just graduated from A&M, and I also remembered that my best friend, Kara, her first boyfriend in 4th grade, his name was Bobby Bobo, but then they moved away from Lake Highlands, and she never talked to him again. I see the Texas A&M. I see a picture of a boy that looks about my age, and I say, Jerry, do you happen to have a son named Bobby? And it was his son. So for 30 minutes, we talked about Texas A&M, and I don't remember talking about anything else. And when I walked back into Trisha's office, I waited for a couple minutes because she had gone in to talk to Jerry. Comes back. It's Friday morning, about 11:30. And she says, well, I can't offer you full-time right now, but you could start Monday. I can promise you at least $35 hours a week. But we could probably make you full-time in 2 months. And I'm like a job? And so I thought it was going to be for a couple months, and I've been there. So that's 38 years ago, 37. I don't know, a long time. 36, 37 years ago.
Now, this all comes a little bit full circle for me, too, because there were a couple of years, I think Jerry Bobo had moved on to KRLD.
Yes, he did.
And there were a couple of years when the ticket was kind of, it was starting to have a good level of success and everything, but the other side of it was kind of flimsy and up in the air, and we went through a couple of different ownerships, and one of those brought Jerry Bobo onto our scene, and he was running the ticket for a few years.
Yep.
And Bob was around, and I love those people.
Yes.
I mean, Jerry Bobo to this day is one of the greatest guys that I've ever been around in the game. I mean, I think the world of that guy.
Yeah, and thank goodness he has a son named Bobby, who was my best friend's 4th grade boyfriend, or I might never have had a chance in radio. But the point of it, and I know that you've had Kelly Raspberry on the show before, and
We
she's
have.
talked about who's a great radio personality and just a legend, and being from South Carolina, and she just happened into radio. And you guys were talking about this, and you're right. There are so many of us that don't plan on it. In fact, Susie Humphreys, who worked for years with Ron, she was a public speaker. She made a lot more money as a public speaker. She'd go around and give speeches. And one of hers was called "Life is What Happens to You While You're Making Other Plans." And that's like my whole life, really. And it's so true. But when I get invited to speak to broadcasting classes or whatever, or come to career day, I'm like, happy to come. I'll tell my story, but I'm like the worst example because I've never had a class. And the people who listen are like, yeah, I can tell she's never had a class. But so yes, I know you're right. But but when I do talk to young people who are trying to get into the business, yeah, it is who you know. If my mom didn't work for a lawyer and the lawyer didn't know Ron Chapman, and to tell Ron Chapman telling the story is so much funnier because you know how it is. We get hit up all the time. My kid wants to go into this, or my niece wants to go, and Ron tells the story and it's like, it's my lawyer and it's not even his kids. It's not his kid, it's his secretary's kid. But Ron did a favor for my mom, and Ron Chapman did a favor for that Ron Massengale, and here I am. So
Amazing.
you can't plan these things.
No, you can't plan these things. All right, now let's talk about how you got to where you are. KVIL winds up with the Cowboys.
Yes.
After wheedling them away from KRLD after all those years and all this thought that the Cowboys would always be on a station like KRLD. The only other station out there that probably could even conceive of having the Cowboys on it might have been WBAP.
Right.
Or maybe...
And I think Q102 had them for a couple years.
Yeah, Q102 did have them.
Back in the early
They
80s
did.
or something like that.
Yeah, they did. They did.
But they didn't do it the way we did it on FM with all of the bells and whistles and as an entertainment thing. It wasn't just a game. For Ron and everyone at KVIL, it was treated as an entertainment show. And so we brought all of the bells and whistles, like I say, with dropping in the sound bites, the effects, the production value. Jody Dean did most of that, was absolutely incredible. And if there's one thing that
what a surprise. Jody Dean doing something incredible.
But the one thing that I think I'm most proud of in my career, because I was the producer back then, and I was doing what people told, but we really did break a lot of ground. We did things that were very difficult that had never been done before. I didn't know any better, you know. It's just like, how do we make this work? We'll make it work. We'll figure it out. And we expanded to a 3-hour pregame because we could do basically whatever we wanted to do. Come up with fun, creative ideas because we had a great sales team, and Ron and our crew were willing to go out and do fun things. So we could invest, we could use some new technologies because we would get the backing by selling the different things. So as long as we were bringing the money in, Jerry, Bob, they didn't care. We could do whatever we wanted to do as long as we could pay for it. Yeah. So we could be very creative. You want an example?
Sure.
Okay, you'll love this. So back then, this is before Pepsi, I think, was a Cowboy sponsor. I think Dr. Pepper, and yes, the Cowboys have Dr. Pepper and Pepsi as sponsors. And you say, well, that would be a conflict, right? No, Pepsi's the official cola. Dr. Pepper's the official soda. But anyway, we're trying to get Pepsi on Cowboys radio. We're selling it as a Cowboys radio thing, so the money would come to us. And so, what are some ways beyond like a 30-second or 10-second commercial, beyond a spot, that we could generate revenue? So I had to do the spec spots, like speculative commercials. So you go to the client and say, this is what it would sound like. So we took just regular play-by-play. You could hear Brad Sham and Dale Hansen. and I underneath. Remember the guy at Texas Rangers? Hot dog. So a vendor, you have vendors. And when we were in stereo, so you could hear crowd effects. You could hear the murmur of the crowd or the roar of the crowd. So the idea was we have a vendor selling Pepsi. So we had a guy down the hall, and I was recording in the studio. Pepsi, get your ice cold Pepsi. Get your Pepsi right here. And so I was recording it so it sounded like it was a thing. And then I underlaid it. And it's like, so what we would do during the game, now they didn't buy it, or it didn't sell this way, but I had done a spec spot where you could hear the fake Pepsi vendor in the background. Pepsi, get your ice cold Pepsi. So we could do all sorts of crazy stuff like that, just trying to figure out ways to monetize what we already had. Mm-hmm.
So how did you wind up on the broadcast now?
Well, I was doing a little bit of on air in that I would do some of the player interviews during the week that we would use as part of the pregame show. I was already on the Sunday morning talk show, the one that when I first went in and listened and met my husband who was producing it, I had been a member of that for several years. But it's funny because when Ron hired me as a kid, that very first meeting, I'm sure he's used to people thinking that they're going to be the next radio star. Well, that was not my intention at all, but he said, you're not going to be on air. And so it never really entered my mind. But our sideline reporter was Michael Ray. I think he was probably the first full-time NFL radio sideline reporter. They had been on TV, of course.
Yeah.
But we were the first to have one on radio, to my knowledge. And so Michael was full-time KVIL. He was our traffic reporter.
Yes.
Michael Ray in the KVI helicopter. Michael left for a job at BELO. Remember when TXCN?
Yes.
When they came up with there was a 24-hour Texas news channel it was down at WFAA in BELO. So he left KVIL, and when he took a job as a news anchor, we needed a new sideline reporter. So I told Ron that I wanted a chance to do that. And they were considering other people, and I kind of had to, you don't put your foot down with Ron Chapman. You make your case, and he listens. And I love the man, and he loved me. And I mean, he's mentor. He'd give you everything you got. He'd pour it into you. Just if you showed any kind of inclination of wanting to learn more, he'd teach you everything that he knew. But I said, I really want to do this. And so I did get it. But he said, and I say this because it's not so much an issue now, but you can imagine when I first started, or actually the first 15, 20 years that I did this, all the time I'd get questions about being the first female or being a female in a male,
right,
especially NFL football, right? So Ron said to me, okay, you got the job, but here's the thing. You have to be better than everybody else. You can't make a mistake. You're the only female voice. And because your voice sounds different, radio listening is pretty passive, right? You kind of hear things. And then when something's different, like a female voice on an all-male broadcast, it's different and it stands out.
Yeah.
He says, so I'm sorry that it's not fair, but that's the way it is. And so that wasn't a misogynistic thing. He wasn't, it's facts, it's true, and I accept that. So, and I'm still the only female on the broadcast in 35 years. There's only been one female either behind the scenes or on the broadcast.
You're such a part of it now, though, that I hear you, and I mean, that's just as normal as Neil Diamond used to be on KVIL.
Well, thank you. Well, that's the thing. It's I found that being a female helps because it does make you stand out. And also, I'm, in my personality, I mean, I love sports. I thought I knew quite a bit going in, but I don't pretend to know what I don't know. Everybody knows that I didn't get to play football, obviously. Now there's girls flag football. There are even football scholarships, girls flag football. I mean, I was late to the game with that. I would have loved that back in the day, but we didn't get the opportunity to do that. So, but especially coaches, and I have always had great relationships with the coaches because once they know that you're sincerely wanting to learn, they'll take as much time and they will just pour it into you. Same thing with players, like the Marcus Spears of the world and people like that. They love to share. And then the other thing, and Becca and Ashley can attest to this, men love talking about themselves and what they want to do and what they do.
No.
And so,
Yes.
No.
yeah.
Yes.
So engage them in it, and you'll get anything you want. So I don't pretend to know what I don't know, and I'm just relating what I learned from other people and put that out there. Rick Goslin, right? As great as he is,
the Goose,
when he would do his mock draft, right? He never scouted a player. He did that. He took all of the information that he got from everybody else and put it out there. He didn't pretend to know what he didn't know. And so I kind of take the same approach. I listen and try and get as much information, glean as much as possible, and then share that.
Are you still learning after all this time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The game has changed so much. Think of the way offenses are used now and the way people are, the way they attack defenses. And then, of course, defenses change with that. And so, have like Matt Eberflus is now back in Dallas as defensive coordinator. Well, heck, we were friends when he was the linebackers coach. And so I feel completely comfortable walking up to him and asking a question about, hey, when you do this or zone blitz here, what are the responsibilities here? And so, and everyone's like that, Will McClay, right? Player personnel. It's the hard thing is coming up with the good questions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got all the information. You've just gotta think, okay, what's the best way to get it out of them? And the best interviews are the ones that have the best questions, right? And because people get tired of answering the same stuff. All the people over the years, not just athletes or coaches, but with all you did in music, right? And they'd be so engaged, right? Especially musicians when they'd get something that was different from what everybody else asked.
Sure.
So it's the same way with coaches and players.
What kind of relationship do you have with Will McClay? I'm fascinated
Very good.
by that guy.
Oh, he's terrific. Well, also he's so he was at Rice University. He graduated from there, and he played for Rice. And my cousin Jim was the student athletic trainer at Rice University. So when I first met Will, I'm like, hey, by the way, we have this tie. And so anyway, but Will's great. Also, Will was the first defensive coordinator and then the head coach of the Dallas Desperados Arena League team.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some stuff with Desperados. So I've known Will from way before he's the grand poobah of scouting and personnel that he is now.
He's the man behind the scenes.
Yeah, for sure.
mean,
he's very well respected, and he's had so many opportunities to go elsewhere.
I'll bet.
Yeah, and love Will. But guys like that, Todd Williams and personnel, working with Adam, the people that work under Stephen Jones and player personnel. For me as the sideline reporter, it's the relationships that you have with the team doctors. It's the relationships that you have with the managers, Bucky and Mike McCord and Dylan and the athletic trainers. Jim Maurer, he didn't go to Lake Highlands High School, but lives in Lake Highlands, grew up in Lake Highlands. And Greg and Britt. And the strength and conditioning coaches, get to know those guys because they work with all the players, not just tight ends or not just the offensive linemen. They work with all the players. So those and those are the people that stay there the longest. I mean, people like Bucky and Jim, we've been in there over 35 years. So Mike McCarthy had a great term, and you probably heard him refer to it, but he'd call them the bartenders. They're the bartenders of your team.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that know what's going on, right?
Right.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is Kristi Scales. She is the sideline reporter on Cowboys Radio. Is that the appropriate?
Yeah, or you could say Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
All right,
Yeah.
Dallas
But
Cowboys Radio Network.
We just say Cowboys Radio.
And now it is time for everybody's favorite thing on your Dark Companion, the mid-roll read, where I try really hard to get this right. I never do. So we'll just tell you that your Dark Companion and the Sunset Lounge are at the Frisco Rough Riders Thirsty Thursday games all season. And this week, the clubhouse will be running live pregame in the Bull Moose Saloon out there. You can spot them in the Lazy River, perhaps, sitting in the stands, not setting in the stands, sitting in the stands. Or maybe they'll just be wandering about throughout the crowd as they always do. Take advantage of our promo code, Let's Ride 25. I guess you go up to them and say that. I don't know how you use that. I guess you
think
say
on the
it.
Website.
Maybe you get it printed on a T-shirt. I don't know. But Let's Ride 25
or a QR code.
Yeah. No, don't do a QR code. The less QR codes we do in this world, the better world we're going to have.
Amen.
Let's Ride 25. Get a preloaded ticket with $6 toward your first Thirsty Thursday drink. Go to ridersbaseball.com/specials and use code Let's Ride 25. And you will be in business. Quench your thirst on Thirsty Thursdays with your Dark Companion and the Sunset Lounge and the Frisco Rough Riders. Do I continue?
Yes.
There's another?
Yes.
Okay. What if I were to tell you you can free yourself of pain or anxiety and sleepless nights? And what if you could do it like naturally? CBD House of Healing is a women-owned CBD boutique, and they would like to help. They carry only products from their lab. They are made to meet the highest quality and purity standards. Their owner, who is also an RN, emphasizes building trusted relationships through education. Giving you the knowledge to care for yourself is their ultimate goal. Find your relief from the aches and pains of this world, the emotional stress and drain, and sleep again. CBDDallas.com, 8550 Plano Road, Suite 101, right in the northeast quadrant of that burgeoning intersection of Plano Road and Northwest Highway. Begin your healing at the House of Healing.
Before we get started again, how's your regimen going that she gave you on Thursday?
It's helping.
Yeah.
There are some things about it that are working better than others because I've been in a little pain myself here that I've had to try and mollify somehow. And when we were at the House of Healing the other day, they gave me some stuff to use on them, and the ointment or
the salve stick.
Yeah, that really works. That is good stuff. If you got a shoulder hurting or your neck's hurting, like I know I've got a pinched nerve in my neck. And
or arthritis, one of the two.
No, it's not arthritis. It's a pinched nerve. I know what it is. It's a pinched nerve. If I had arthritis, I would know it's arthritis. This is not arthritis.
He's a doctor, damn it.
Pinched nerve. That's right.
Yes, his doctor can be this.
All right, you can laugh all you want to, but believe me, I know myself.
Okay, Mike.
When
I'm
something's
sorry.
wrong with
I
me,
didn't
I
mean.
know it, and I know what it
didn't mean
is.
to drum up
we all know
demons.
something's wrong, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was off.
I really like
Sometimes you think
Kristi,
it's
y'all.
in your head and it comes out.
I really like this woman. This first time meeting her, but I like her.
She's the best. Seriously.
Anyway, they gave me stuff that is really.
Does it roll on or how does it
Yeah.
work?
They gave me stuff that's really helped
Ooh,
me.
sounds good.
It's
yeah.
made me feel a whole lot better. So if you got something like that going on, go up to the CBD House of Healing and tell Summer that you want what she gave me.
Northwest Highway at Plano?
Yes, Northwest Highway at Plano Road.
I'd say you got to be familiar with
that's
that.
stomping grounds,
Yeah.
Just past the old roller rink.
There you
Yes,
go.
In the northeast
Yeah.
quadrant.
Yeah,
up
seriously. Yeah.
Okay. Well, quickly, speaking of pains, Kristi, you also don't like QR codes? Shoopy has made it known that
Oh
he
my
does not
gosh.
like them.
I was at a restaurant last night, and it's QR. Come on, give me a break.
No paper
But
menu?
I want a paper menu.
Yeah.
They had no paper menu, and preferably a paper menu that has a maze and a little word search. That's the
Crayons.
best. Yeah, crayons. But was it Macaroni Grill where they would
Oh, hell
come
yeah.
and
Yeah.
the waiter
On the table
would write
itself?
their name upside down? Always impressive. But yeah, no, actually that the little menu with like the maze and stuff reminds me when I was talking about the old Cowboy practice facility growing up down the street on Abrams Road at Forest Lane. It wasn't even on the corner. On the corner was a Pizza Hut. And the Pizza Hut, there was just a little bit, not even an alley, just enough of a parking lot behind it. That's where the dumpster was. And if the dumpster got set close enough to the blue fence, you didn't have to hang on the fence to watch the end of practice. I'd sit on top of the dumpster and watch the end of Cowboys practice. And then there were several times, I'll say it. I mean, I grew up a Cowboy fan, so it's okay. We'd go dumpster diving. And I remember one time my cousin, not Jim, his older brother, Owen, they came up from Houston. They were big Cowboy fans. And the team wasn't practicing, but we went dumpster diving. And Mom said, you have to let Owen Jr. go first because he's visiting from out of town. And Owen goes first, and he emerges triumphantly from said dumpster with Drew Pearson's towel. I know it was his towel, the little towel that they would stuff in their belt because it had just the little 88, black Sharpie 88. He got Drew Pearson's towel. Oh, I'm really jealous. I go in second, and I emerge with a stinky cleat, number 76. Do you remember? Probably would have been about 1982, maybe. Larry Bethea. Larry Bethea's, or 79. Anyway, Larry Bethea's cleat. So yeah, I mean, I've been a Cowboy fan my whole life, and also across the street was Kitty Carter's Dance Factory, and of course that's where the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. That was their old rehearsal studio. Now they're out at the Star in Frisco, and before that, out at Valley Ranch in Irving. But I do a lot of work with the cheerleaders now, and have been a judge for Cowboy cheerleader auditions for about 24 or 25 years now. Which is just proof that God has a sense of humor, that that the world's biggest tomboy would be a judge or have anything to do with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. But that's it's like, what's the favorite part of your job? Certainly game days, and traveling and the people I work with. But the real joy is getting to do so much with the cheerleaders. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Were you a tomboy when you were a kid?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh yes, absolutely. And I played basketball. I only played volleyball my senior year at Lake Highlands. I wish I had played all 3 years, but even back then in the 80s, they'd still try and, even with the girls, try and steer you into one sport. I wish I had played all 3 years of volleyball, but yeah, I don't know if I guess I can tell the story because it's so long ago, but
hey, it's just a podcast.
Yeah, it's just a podcast. But anyway, first day of school, senior year, we had this, it's 1984, 1985, and Richardson School District, that was a good school district, But it's the first year that we had this brand new class offering called computers.
Ooh.
There was a computer lab, right? Anyway, the volleyball coach, Coach Stewart, he was the computer teacher, and he had been trying to get me to play basketball. So, and back then our athletic period was first period. So it's the first day of class, and Coach Stu comes up to me. He's like, Kristi, you're in my fourth period computer class. I'm like, yes, sir. He says, if you play volleyball, I'll give you an A in computers. I'm like, may I play volleyball this year, Coach? I'd really like to play volleyball. So anyway, that I got an A in computer class, and maybe that's why I'm horrible at computers. But anyway, so yeah. And then you had to do a project at the end of the year. You had and this was basic. I mean, what do you call that? A language? Like if X equals 1 and Y equals 2, then X plus 1. X plus Y, because I don't know, but it was just basic.
And the
coding.
Ones and zeros and all that stuff.
Ones and zeros. That's it. Anyway, I told you I didn't. It was a coach that taught it. Anyway. But we had to do a project by the end of the year. Well, there was a friend of mine named Roger, and he would, back then they weren't even nerds, right? Because computers were so new, we didn't even know. But he probably owns a company out in Silicon Valley now. But we had Spanish class together, and Roger was great at computers, but not at Spanish. So he came up to me and said, "I'll write your computer program if you write my Spanish paper." I'm like, awesome. He says, "But Miss Spurlock knows I'm bad at Spanish, so give me like a B- or a C+." So I'm like, okay, but I want an A. So anyway, my computer project, Roger wrote it. It was for keeping stats for the volleyball team. So of course I got an A because it had to do with volleyball, and he knew what he was doing. And I managed to get him a C+. So I'm really proud of that.
Nice.
That worked out for everybody, didn't it?
Sure, win-win.
So did you play football with the boys when you were a kid and everything?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then, I played, I would say Mom wouldn't let me do shirts and skins anymore after about third or fourth grade. But no, I really was one of the better athletes and until, in junior high. Then, the boys and the girls had to do the separate stuff. But yeah, I played boys basketball camps through like 5th grade or 6th grade. Yeah, it was because I was the only one that could dribble with my left hand. I'm right-handed. Don't say, okay, you're left-handed. But no, I mean, but back then I was about the same size. You remember Merton Hanks, who played for the 49ers,
yeah.
a great Pro Bowl player? I'm actually a year older than him. But I mean, but Merton Hanks was Lake Highlands.
Right?
Yes, he's Lake Highlands and Forest Meadow. So I've known Merton since, like 8th grade. And then Matt Stover, who was a great kicker, and he was a Pro Bowler as well. He was also a year below me. So they actually were like number 46 and number 47 next to each other in our Lake Highlands football team, all the photos. We had 2 Pro Bowl players, a safety and a kicker.
Yeah.
We were terrible back then. They actually won the state championship in 1982, but then after that, not so good. But we did have 2 future Pro Bowl NFL players.
Now, you occupy your place on Cowboys radio. Down on the field, upstairs, you've got the great Brad Sham. You've got the great Babe Laufenberg, both of whom, by the way, have spent some time in that chair.
Yes, they warned me.
That's got to be just unbelievable working with those two.
It is. We've been doing it for so long. And, Babe started the same year I did with Cowboys Radio. Remember, he was the backup quarterback for the Cowboys in 1989 and 1990. And then when we started in 1991, Babe was still with the team through the offseason and was released right at the start of the season. And so he started as our post-game show, like the expert, former player come in. So when we do the call-in show, we called it Flashback. Babe, that's how he started with Cowboys Radio. And then he, within a few weeks, also started doing the pregame. So he was pregame, postgame co-host as our expert. And then came in as a third person in the booth in maybe 94, 95. And then as the number 2 person in probably 95 or 96. So worked and with Brad, gosh, I've known him since 91. So we've worked together the whole time. And other than Michael Ray moving from Sideline and leaving, it's been the same people really all along. After Dale left, Mike Ducey did a year, and then Dave Garrett filled in for Brad for 3 years. But the rest of the time, it's been the 3 of us.
And you've been there through all of that, huh?
Right. Ever since it left 1080 KRLD after 1990. Yeah, since 91.
God.
I know, it's been a long time.
What a scene you've had.
So we had three Super Bowl victories in my first 5 seasons. And people ask all the time, "Oh, how long do you want to do this?" I'm like, well, I was in the booth. I was the booth producer for those Super Bowls. So I was not on the sideline for the Super Bowl. So I want to be on the field. I want to be on the sideline for an actual Super Bowl. So hopefully I'm not waiting another 35 years, But yeah, snarky comment, insert here. Or until Jerry's great grandkids decide they want to be the sideline reporter, I don't know. But no, I enjoy it, and it's still different every single time, and that's what's great about live radio. And I don't know if you miss that part of it, that you can come in, and especially when you did sports for all those years, you can have something planned, but then there's a breaking story, and no day truly is ever the same. I mean, you know, the regimen of it, but the stories change, and new personalities and new plays, or
it constantly evolves.
Yeah, and that's what's fun.
It.
There aren't 2 days that are the same. There are no 2 games that are the same.
That's what's great about it. How long are you going to do this?
Yeah, we'll see. You know,
you've already done it how long now?
35 years with Cowboys Radio, 27 on this.
Kristi.
This will be my 35th year, and this will be my 27th on the sideline. So
Wow.
I know, but it's like, and I know people who are old, they say they don't feel old. And I used to think, oh, you're so crazy. But now I am old, and I don't feel old. So I totally understand what they're talking about. And, but, you know, as long as you're enjoying it, right? And again, because it's new and different every day.
As long as you're enjoying it, you got to hang on to it.
I think so. It would be a shame to walk away. And in media, very rarely do we get to decide our own fate, right? The way our careers end. So, yeah.
What?
Except for Mike.
Except for Mike. No, I mean, that's why it's been such a blessing for you, right? Because you had your own terms.
Yeah.
And I think that I just wish that more of us would have that ability to end things on our own terms. You know?
But in this game, that doesn't hardly happen.
It doesn't. So you've got to just enjoy it as long as you can. Yeah.
Well, clearly you enjoy it. You're really good at it.
Thank you. Thank you.
How do you think the team's going to be this year?
I actually feel a lot better about it than some people think. I can tell you just from a behind-the-scenes perspective at the Star in Frisco, you know, we've heard a lot about Coach Schottenheimer and a lot of the things that he's doing, and, you know, putting a ping pong table or a basketball hoop, is that going to make any difference, you know, on the field in the fourth quarter when you need a drive in 2 minutes? I don't know, but I can tell you that the infectious enthusiasm that people are talking about, it's real, and you can feel it. It is a different atmosphere, and I don't want it to sound like things were morose or mundane under Coach McCarthy, because it was a good culture under Coach McCarthy as well. It really was, but it feels different.
Yeah.
And
a different vibe might make a big difference when it matters most.
And it's the people that I trust the most. It's the bartenders that I referenced before.
Yeah.
The football ops, the part. And that's how I get the measure, because we're the ones that have been around the longest. And so when they feel it, and I know they feel it, and we're all talking about the same things, that I'm just trying to share with you behind the scenes what's going on.
Well, it's
good.
That's what we want.
It's good. Now, Cowboys lose 2 out of their first 3 or 3 out of their first 4, and no one's going to give a F, right? I mean, really. But I'm just really hopeful that with the new staff, new coach, and some of the new players come in, I just want them to get off to a good start, not just because that is the easiest part of the schedule and it's imperative they get off to a strong start because it's such a killer at the end of the season, but right now the team has not earned any grace from fans or media. And unfortunately, this new regime, they're carrying that. And I just want them to get off to a good start so that there is some grace.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then then we'll see how good they are from there.
It has been impressive, though, seeing even just the turnaround from the media. You know, when the news first broke, it seemed like everyone was making fun of it being a Friday night news dump, that, oh, God, we hired this former coach's kid. Like, he hasn't, you know, he's tried interviewing for head coaching jobs for 25 years, never gotten a chance. What are we doing? Jerry's lost it. And then within a couple weeks, it felt like just the vibes from Shoddy have just forced our writers, our media, to say, Well, let's give him a chance.
Well, I'm really glad you mentioned that because as soon as it was, we knew the several candidates that Jerry was interviewing or getting ready to interview, and there were some that weren't reported that didn't even get to the interview phase. But as soon as we knew that Shoddy was sitting down with Jerry, I told Brad, I said, I knew then, because Brian, with that, it will get in front of you and when I say sell you on a vision, I don't mean selling in a bad way, like a used car salesman trying to get you, not that kind, but just sharing the vision and just that. And he's been, had been there 3 years. So knew what he was talking about, knew the product better than someone coming from outside of the building. So once he got in front of Jerry, I thought, oh my gosh, this might really, really happen, because I know that personality and see the way that, he's not just selling, it's how he feels about it and just that passion. Yeah. And so I was not surprised at all. The timing, you say, group's coming out Friday night, late. The timing was interesting, but I was not surprised by the result, by the decision.
What was really interesting is just another week later, we had another late night weekend news dump.
That was incredible.
What you talking about?
Oh, still mad about that. I'm sorry. I'll never get over Luca.
Nobody will ever get over it.
Do you even trust Nico to for sure draft Cooper Flagg?
No, I don't. I don't. He says defense wins championships. Well, Cooper Flagg is a heck of a defensive player. That's one of the strongest aspects of his game. But Nico might just double down in there on draft night and say, we're going with a really, really strong defensive player. Not a guy who's just all over the road and does a little of this and a little of that. We want a strong defensive player because defense wins championships. My ass.
Oh. We don't need to think about that.
Can you imagine the people that work for the Mavericks if they don't take Cooper Flagg?
Oh,
you've seen that they've already accidentally leaked on their social medias. Yeah.
Like what? What?
There's like a graphic already made, which that's what happens. Just like with the Thunder last night, and their championship buses, you have to make the stuff in advance.
Yeah.
But there's already graphics out there that the Mavs social team accidentally, I think, had on their website.
Yeah, it was posted. Welcoming Cooper Flagg as the first pick.
Well, good. That just tells us they really are going to do the right thing.
Or will they?
There are some theories that they're going to trade with the Spurs.
Oh.
For what? Wemby?
For the second pick over the first pick, and I don't know what they'll get.
No,
but there's a conspiracy theory.
I will burn my Jim Spanarkel jersey if they do that.
Man, if they do that, oh my God.
You'll have to talk.
They've already screwed themselves so bad and lost such a big quadrant of the fan base that they may never get back.
Yeah, some of us have been there. Jim Spanarkel, Abdul Jelani. Some of us have been there since the very first year,
Yeah,
So,
hello.
Yeah. We remember. We were there for the first games,
I was there at the first game, but I was there at the second.
So, yeah. I really don't have a Spanarkel jersey because they didn't sell them like back then. The marketing wasn't the same back then.
But you'll make a custom one and then burn it.
Yes, just out of spite, just to show how serious.
That would be amazing to see on your social medias someday.
Well, I don't really think that he can screw something like this up twice. Or do I?
Don't even wish it or think it into existence.
I'm trying not to. I'm really trying not to. I'm thinking that this is going to come and go just the way they have told us it will, with the natural order of things falling perfectly into place. We'll go on about our business, get Cooper Flagg in here, and see what happens next.
Yeah. And the crowds that they're getting with Dallas Wings with Paige Becker's, first overall pick and stuff. I mean, there's some momentum actually now with our local sports scene. And I know the Stars, didn't get over the hump again out of the conference finals, but I really do. I really feel like the Cowboys. It's such a good vibe if they can just take care of their part of the quotient, right? And if Seager and the Rangers can actually, Simeon's hot now, so maybe if that can spread, because they're only 6.5 back or 5.5 back,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like 5.5 back. So I mean, it's not over yet.
Yeah, but with them, that seems like a big 5.5.
But the pitching's there.
Yeah,
they
the
could just get
pitching's
two
great.
more.
Pitching's better than we've ever seen.
Yeah, I know, and that's what's so frustrating is it's always been the opposite,
Yeah.
right? We've always said if we can just get the pitching, and now we've got the pitching, and we can't get a hit, at least not with a run in scoring position. But then not enough for even getting in scoring position. So
It's a whole thing. And it's 7 games back for the
is
record.
it 7?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
not ideal.
Because they lost yesterday.
Yeah.
Dang it. All right.
Damn.
I mean, how
Sorry,
can you
I'm
beat the
trying to be
Pirates 3 games in a
positive.
row?
Well, I'll end this on a high here.
Okay.
We're getting high.
Yeah.
Oh, the CBD place? Plano at Northwest Highway.
That's right.
I love her.
I kept an open mind about Shoddy. When he was hired, I thought, okay, his dad was a coach and he's been around it all his life and he seems pretty well thought of and he's been here for a while. He knows the lay of the land around here. So I'll keep an open mind until I hear him say something that strikes me as stupid or out there or misguided or whatever. And I have yet to hear that. I mean, everything I've heard him say makes, some level of sense.
Yeah.
And it seems like he is purpose driven. It seems like he is driven by, process. I guess process driven is what I'm trying to say. Seems like he's got a process and he's going to, carry that process out and see where we wind up. So, okay, let's go.
Yeah, there's some really fun things to watch at training camp. How are they going to work the running backs? It's been such a makeover in that room. The only holdovers are 2 of the backups in Lipke and Deuce Vaughn. And Deuce Vaughn might be seeing him some at receiver, out at camp. And then how they're going to work Brevin Spanford in at tight end. And then Pickens, was doing some stuff from the slot. So can you imagine pick your poison, either CD or Pickens in the slot, or you could put Turpin in there. And so I think Mingo's been mainly working out wide, but it's going to be fun. Now, you're not going to see it in preseason. Don't expect, because starters, first of all, don't play. And even if a guy like Mingo or Lipke, they're not going to show anything in a preseason game that another team can clue in. But there will be, as practices go on, some fun things that we'll be watching from the sideline that you can kind of figure out, oh, okay, they kind of are thinking of this for this guy and this for that guy. So training camp, as you know, can be so mundane, but as you get further along and you see kind of how they're doing the substitution packages and things like that,
start to fall into place.
You'll never see it in the preseason game, but you can start to clue in on things.
Yeah.
And then some of the rookies, like, what you watch is who's climbing the depth chart on special teams, who's gone from third team to second team, and then working first team on special. That's the long shot, the dark horse who's got a real shot to make the team. Watch how they're being used on special teams.
How do you think running back's going to shake out?
I think Javonte Williams is going to be your starter. I think Jaden Blue, I'm really interested to see, because he was did such a good job catching the ball.
Yeah.
And then this young guy Maffa, he's the one from Clemson. They drafted 2, Blue and Maffa. Phil Maffa is more of a downhill kind of guy, so might be more of your short yardage kind of thing. So, but he'll get a lot of work in preseason as well. But and then Miles Sanders, he's good out of the backfield as well. So, but Williams was getting, I say, it's hard to say after OTAs and minicamp that Williams got most of the first team work because they're working so many in, but. if I had to guess right now, Williams is probably your starter. But again, that's what I'm interested to see is rotation and how they use him out of the backfields or F and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, bring it on. She is Kristi Scales. She is on the sidelines for Cowboys Radio. Has been for all these years, will be again this year.
Your lips to God's ears. One more month. Just don't screw up for one more month. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for doing this.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, this has been another episode of Your Dark Companion. Do I have another read here?
If you want to do it, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Well, I can't see it, so maybe I'm...
Well, screw it.
Screw it. So, yeah, we don't have one. All right, that's it. That's all you got for us. Bye.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.